Hello friends! In the video I will talk about the year 2024, which we cannot observe separately from the year 2025. Otherwise, January the 1st means nothing from an astrological and cosmological point of view, so we can talk about one continuous time flow until June 2025. At the end of the spring of 2025, Saturn and Neptune will enter the sign of Aries. Jupiter will enter the sign of Cancer. The third and the last conjunction of Uranus and Algol will pass. The series of eclipses on the Aries-Libra axis will end, and then we will slowly, again with the rhythm of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, we will start creating a new world. So from the 2026, we start living in a new way. It is a change that will affect almost all segments of our lives and our planet. We have to survive until then, you will say, and you are right. Stormy events await us, and I would say not only until then, but also after that, but about that we'll talk about some other time. So the year 2024 is specific in that it repeats some constellations from 1941 and 1942. That is from the time of the Second World War, that claimed many victims, as we know. Briefly stated, in May 1941, Jupiter and Uranus made a conjunction with the star Algol, which was at that time at the 25th degree of Taurus. And after that, Jupiter moved to the sign of Gemini, and Uranus again approached Algol in 1 degree orbit in March 1942. So we see that there, in the time of the Second World War, there was only one exact conjunction of Uranus and Jupiter with Algol. And in 1941 to 42, Pluto was in direct opposition to today's position of Pluto. It was at that time at the beginning of the sign of Leo, and now is at the beginning of the sign of Aquarius, which is exact opposition to that time, which is very significant thing in astrology. So also in 1941-42, the lunar nodes moved from the Aries-Libra axis to the Virgo-Pisces axis, which will also be at the beginning of end of 2024, beginning of 25. There were other transits during the Second World War that are not the same as the current one. For example, at the beginning of 1941, Saturn was in Taurus, in square with Pluto, which is one of the most tense aspects that exists, and which symbolizes the unyielding structure for power, for new territories, domination by force, sadism, and things like that. We don't have that now, unfortunately, but recently we actually had a square of Uranus and Saturn. That was in 2021. Before that, we also had some troubles that I'm not going to mention because I'm not going to go that back far. But if you want to know what I was talking about Uranus and Saturn square, please check my video. The name of it is Horoscope 2021, Let It Burn. So there I discussed that square, and we still live in the effect of that square. In any case, we have contact with the star Algol. It is in front of us, and the star is now at the 26th degree of Taurus. We have already met the energy of this star. I mentioned and described it in the video for November 2021, and additionally in the video called Eclipses, Lunar Nodes on the Axis Taurus-Scorpio, 2021-2023, Kirikou, Transformation of Evil. Whatever you write of this, I guess the video will appear. So check these 2 videos from the end of 2021. If you haven't seen those 2 videos, I will say briefly something about that, but not all of that, you know. The first eclipse on the Taurus-Scorpio axis took place in November 2021. And that eclipse was in Taurus 27 degree, also conjunct the star Algol, but with 1 degree distance. And this star is known as the evil star, but actually they call it the head, the Gorgon Medusa in English, I guess. Just as the year 2020 will be remembered as the year of the greatest experiment and the greatest mass hysteria, so the 2021 and partly 2022 will be remembered as the years of exposing of evil. And that was the time of the Taurus-Scorpio eclipses. We have never learned more about that who and how governs this world and what are their intentions as those 2 years, 21 and 22. That's when the mass awareness of people begin through the realization that someone wants to liquidate them with the help of biochemical weapons. It also became clear that it is a reality, not the theory, that work is being done by the connect, that work should be done by this idea to connect artificial intelligence and human beings. So in the mentioned video, I explained that Gorgon Medusa, as well as the witch Karaba, which is mentioned there, are enchanted. In the state, and in that state of enchantment, they do great evil. However, the evil they do is consequence of the pain they experienced. So the Medusa star is a symbol of horror and fear, but also contains some certain sexual energy. After all, everything found in the sign of Taurus is in the dialogue with the sign of Scorpio, which is a sign of death, sexuality, secrets, and transformation. It further draws attention that the Gorgon Medusa was represented with snakes in her hair, with horns on her head, and the tongue that was trembled and some similar elements, at her head. And because of that her look, she could kill with her gaze. She made everyone who looked at her to be petrified, which means actually to lose their feelings, or more precisely, to lose their soul. This is the symbolism of that. Over the centuries, this same mythological representation became less and less scary. Her character was humanized, and eventually she was depicted as a woman with discreet horns, finally, So one can't stop thinking of that when he sees Hollywood and other pop and rock music stars, how they are presented nowadays. Obviously, mythology is still very much alive. So those Hollywood and rock stars, actually, they represent the system of evil that we live in. Well, it would be simple to say that the year 2024 will be a year of horror and fear and things like that because of this star. After all, we have already experienced this horror in 2020. So here now we need to discover something new, if there is something new. It is clear that Tao, from Taoism, now I'm speaking about Chinese Taoism, Tao that has to be reversed, and it has been preparing for that for a long time, but everything is going somehow difficult, which can even be good for us, because obviously we have avoided a sudden collapse. So maybe this is good that it's going that slow. So let's look in detail at the most important celestial events, namely the conjunctions of Uranus and Jupiter, especially with the star Algol. First, I will here mention the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus. Then I will mention the Jupiter conjunction with Algol, and finally Uranus in conjunction with Algol. So Jupiter will be in conjunction with Uranus between 18th and 26th of April. in the sign of Taurus at 21 to 22 degree in the year 2024. This is very interesting celestial event that means a lot actually in a positive sense. But there is a trouble. Of course, Jupiter magnifies everything it touches, so it magnifies good and bad things also. And we know that Uranus in Taurus was a symbol of many unfortunate events on our planets, and that it has destructive power over biological life on Earth. Primarily, now we see through the use of climate weapons. Also, this Uranus in Taurus is the symbol of the collapse of banks, economic crisis, bioterrorism, synthetic biology, fourth technological revolution as they call it, that is dealing with the manipulation of the human DNA and similar trends that we see today. Also lack of food in some countries, even eugenics. Eugenics became a big topic during Uranus-Pluto square in 2012 to 2015. But little was said about that. Then in 2019, I think 19, I'm not really sure, was it 19 or 18? I know that it was September. The Russian president publicly said that someone has genetic bombs that can destroy only a selected number of the population, or to say one nation or few nations, But even that did not have much resonance in some countries, and then it happened what happened in 2020, and now we have the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus. So Jupiter here can have two functions. Firstly, to increase the problems related to the mentioned topics that I said now about Uranus in Taurus. Or secondly, to point out the truth related to given topics. There is also a third possibility, and this is the combination of the first two ones. It means to increase the mentioned problems so much that one cannot ignore them anymore. They will be visible to everybody almost. As for the collapse of the economic system, it reaches its peak in 2024 and 25. The BRICS countries have broken away from the fake petrodollar, so their path to the future is pretty certain. As for the others, I don't know what they will do. The one who is ready to jump into something new wins here. So this is actually the most important message of this transit. The one who is ready to jump in something completely new wins here. So the conjunction can be extremely positive for everyone who is able to take advantage of it. Those who want to live in the old world, they're in a big trouble. In individual horoscopes, the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus will have the greatest impact of people who have planets or ascendant from 20 to 23 degree Taurus or Scorpio, and of course to all of us in some way. What kind of impact it will have depends on people, it depends on individual horoscopes. It is possible that there will be sudden changes in values or beliefs, and also change of perspective, complete change of perspective. Those who are not afraid of risk can achieve a lot with this conjunction, or even lose a lot. And why to lose? Well, because the old means nothing to them anymore. So this loss actually can be quite easy one for some. Many will feel that their time has come with this conjunction, and if they believe in their plan, they will achieve a lot. Of course, somebody will lose their chance with this because they're simply not ready. Well, this is followed by Jupiter in conjunction with Algol star, which will happen between the 9th and the 13th of May at 26 degrees of Taurus, of course. This event has somehow similar function as the previous one, but it's essentially not that positive. Jupiter can here also increase fear and terror as well as reveal them. Jupiter is the planet that symbolizes the truth and whatever happens, it shows that what is happening from the position of justice and truth. This is the job of Jupiter to do. So it will be a key learning moment, I think, when Jupiter meets with Algol. Personally, I think that the darkest secrets, both current and historical, should be revealed to people. Because if there is no such thing, many other people who are not awakened, will still be lulled in their conformism and will be able to be the obstacle for the development of the consciousness of the humanity, as they will not understand what is happening and they will not understand why certain processes are necessary. However, the star Algol is called Gorgon Medusa, and we know from mythology that no one must look at her face, because when they do that, they are petrified of fear. So the big question is now how to reveal the truth to people and not to cause a shock that will paralyze them. So I don't know how that can happen. And now after that, there are 3 conjunctions of Uranus with the star Algol. The first one will happen between 8th of July to the 7th of August. The second one will be between the 28th of September until the 29th of October. And the third and the last one will happen in the year 2025 and will be between the 26th of April until the 12th of May. The most intense is usually the first conjunction. That's how we understand it in astrology. So I think it will be like that, I guess. When we do the horoscope, for example, for July 16th, 2024, which is somewhere in the middle of the first conjunction, we see that Mars, the ruler of North Node, which is now in Aries, so Mars is important here. So we see that Mars is in conjunction with Uranus and Algol. They're all together. It is very explosive, sudden and destructive energy. However, we have already experienced a similar combination on August the 1st and the 2nd in the year 2022. It was without the star Algol, but it was the situation when Uranus, Mars and Mars meet with the North Node, which is also a very tough combination. And in that time, there were attacks on the nuclear power plant in Zaporozhye in Ukraine. And so far as I know, the disaster was prevented. I don't know if there were some other things happening in that time. I'm not aware of it. So if we survived in that time, I guess we can survive also now. But certainly this conjunction can mean destruction on a large scale. It can be also the destruction with climate weapons and numerous similar events that can potentially threaten human lives. For example, causing the eruption of volcanoes, which they're already doing in 2023. You most probably heard that they activated few volcanoes. I guess they are testing it. It is possible that it will be also represented with some counter-attack, possibly some event that will be destructive, but has the goal to save humanity. Something must be destroyed in order to save humanity and human lives. Anyway, it can certainly mean a great house. I watched the film, very short one, in which it was explained what them agreed in 1994. That was the deal mainly among Western countries. They wanted to launch a virus that will reduce the population from 2017 to 2018. So now we see that they were late. I don't know why. They had a reason. And then they also agreed that in the year 2024, it should be staged in hologram form of an alien attack. Although it sounds completely crazy, It is still being talked about even now in US Parliament. So if they talk about aliens in US Parliament, that means something to us. So let's hope that this crazy plan will not happen, you know, but it was worth mentioning that if you did not hear, they are preparing this aliens attack, but it will be through hologram. It would look completely crazy and chaotic, but it would be the hologram. So the second conjunction of Uranus and Algol is at the time in the autumn when eclipses happen, so September, October, which is also a very challenging period, but it can be overcome like many others so far, if the people who run this world know that the end is close. You know, neither can the state of tension be prolonged for much longer, nor can secrets about crimes and criminals be hidden no longer, you know. So they should kind of end it, you know. Those who rule the world should know that they need to end it. I mean, these positive forces, not the negative ones. Let's not forget, all these conjunctions happen in Taurus, which is a sign of value, of what we value ourselves and others, what they value, or our social values. All of this is actually Taurus. So the imposition of the values of the representatives of degenerative civilization leads to great destruction. And that is really necessarily now in 2024 and 25 to make a breakthrough of some kind and to end this agony. Something like that will happen, I guess. I don't know, I just don't know how. And it will be maybe like in a fairy tale, something completely unexpected. And it will happen also again in April, in some form, in April, May 2025, when this whole process will end. Maybe we will react to this a little bit later or a little bit before, but it's sometimes like that. So it's time to say who is the hero of the title of this video. Who is Baš Chelik? So there is a Serbian folk tale that very much illustrates the events that are ahead of us. Fairy tales, myths, as well as art itself, are a bridge between the conscious and the subconscious part of ourselves. We learn a lot through symbols and symbolic stories, offer more than through rational perception. So Baš Chelik has a Promethean spirit in him, which in turn has two sides. One brings liberation, the other destruction, just like the Uranus himself. Avant-garde artists from the 20s of the last century also remembered Baš Chelik, which was character from the folk literature, as they also sensed that 20s, or the in between two wars in the last century, that was the time that was potentially liberating, but also can be devastating for the previous civilization. I wrote about this in my periodical. The name of it is The Shift of Consciousness in the Time of the Avant-Garde. I sell it through my web pages, so if you are interested, you can see my publications there. So the story Baš Chelik begins with a dying father telling his three sons to give their three sisters to the first one who proposes to them. Under that influence of their father's vow, they gave the sisters to the dragons. The first one married the dragon, the second the falcon dragon, and the third the eagle dragon. After some time, the brothers set out to look for their sisters, achieved numerous deeds, and the youngest stands out, of course, who gets the castle, the princess, and the emperor's favor. This leads to the divide of the story, and the narrator follows only the youngest brother, who in meantime became a prince. One day, this prince has left alone in his castle, and he couldn't bear to obey the emperor's ban, and the emperor was his father-in-law, and opened the last room that was the only one forbidden to him. So there, of course, he finds Chelik, a monster man who is bound in chains. And this is where the temptation arises. Chelik asks for water, and in return he offers to our hero another human life. And this happens 3 times. Every time young prince pours water on Chelik, and each time he gets a new life. But when he does this for the 3rd time, the chains break, Chelik is freed, and with him a huge destructive force. Chelik steals the prince's wife and disappears. Although everyone warns the prince that he has no way to oppose to Chelik, and there is no way to return his wife, he does not give up. He sets off again, now in search for his wife. Along the way, he found sisters. You remember sisters from the beginning of the story. And also he established contact with 3 dragons who became his sons-in-law. However, even with their help in a terrible battle, it is not possible to defeat Chelik, and Prince loses all his lives and the ordinary human life that he had from God. But luckily his sons-in-law, those dragons, revive him again with the water from the Jordan River. After that, the dragon's brothers-in-law tell him that the force represented by Chelik cannot be defeated by force. And that is the main message for us. Yeah, no? So this force represented by Chelik cannot be defeated by force or by fighting. So what happened? Well, dragons say to our prince that it is necessary to find where the heroism of Chelik lies in. They tell to Prince how to teach his stolen wife, how to find out from Chelik himself where his heroism lies. After complications, she learns that his heroism is hidden in the mountain in a fox, and it is in the fox heart, and in the heart is the bird. So the trouble is that neither the fox or the bird can be easily catch. However, with the help of the dragons, means these brothers-in-law, Prince manages now to perform this last act. And when this captured bird burns, Chelik also dies. So the prince went with his wife to his castle after this. So you see, everything happened 3 times. In 3 attempts, the place of Chelik heroism was discovered. 3 times the prince died. 3 dragons fought. In 3 phases Chelik was destroyed, and so on and so on. And 3 times Uranus will touch the Gorgon Medusa head during 2024 and 25. It is all telling us that we live in the epic time. This is going to be the epic event. This is what lies in front of us. And some great evil must be defeated, but not through open battle. But it must be hit in his heart, so to say, in order for the whole system to fall apart without major consequences for humanity. What exactly this means, I leave everyone's imagination. But follow this. I guess we will see something like that. Some scenario like that. Of course, many people have died. It's not funny, yeah. Many people have died so far because of everything that has happened in recent years. But it is necessary now to prevent even wars which is the implementation of the technocratic plan, according to which a small number of chips should remain in this world and serve them. You see how everything is coded and how everything is meaningful that is now coming, these conjunctions of Jupiter and Uranus with Algol, you know. They are here actually to end the process and to enable the transformation that should take place so that we survive all of this and finally to be in the situation when even this modern technology that seems that is enemy to humans now can serve them, you know. This should be somehow some transformation of this kind. Well, in that sense, I have good news for you. We live in the time of sextile of Pluto and Neptune. These two planets have the longest cycle, lasting 492 years. Each of their encounters marks the greatest possible changes at the civilizational level, because the collective unconscious is decoded and the new system is established with new codes. And something like that is happening also now when these two planets in a smaller portion have active aspect. Spiritual people know about it, and some philosophers know about it, and crazy ones know also about this. That's why they are doing it in their way. But I'm not going to explain what they are doing. We know that. Now I want to mention Pluto and Neptune make a sextile in our time, which is very positive, and this sextile now will be exact, you know. So the current cycle of Neptune and Pluto started in 1892, will finish in 2384, yeah, and during this cycle they will have good and bad aspects, and that's how like humans will integrate this energy. Sometimes it will be tough, sometimes not that tough. Now we have this lucky sextile. So the sextile will be exact at the beginning of September and further in October and November 2024, which is one of the symbols of harmonious change. So this sextile is complete opposite to the explosive and destructive energy of Uranus in conjunction with Algol, and this is a very, very lucky thing for us. I further remind you that I recorded a video in which I talk about the fact that Pluto and Uranus will form trine. Soon will be the trine between them. The trine is already being prepared in 2024 and will last until 2029. But narrowly speaking, it will be the most intense between 2026 and 2028. Check out the video about that. The name of the video is Pluto in Aquarius, History Again, Light is the Sound in Ether. I recorded this video in Egypt. I wanted to record it now, you know, so it's on my YouTube. There I talk about that this fight now that is happening is political, ideological, economical, but also it is about the replacement of energies like fuel, energy sources. The fact that Schwabians from Davos want to push through some green agenda is not only the attempt to push people into the digital concentration camp, but it is also a sign that Europe and large part of Western world is running out of energy sources. Whoever has energy for the future, he has it. Who was like colonizer until now probably will not have energy sources anymore, which will be trouble. Furthermore, is interesting also, there is another aspect that arises in 2024 for a short time. It is that Jupiter and Pluto will be in sextile, which is quite good aspect, from May 26 to June 13. This is going to be the sextile in the air signs. Their current cycle began in 2020 and then made three conjunctions actually in the Capricorn sign. I recorded some videos in that time about this conjunction, and one I will highly recommend to you. The name of this video is Jupiter, Pluto, 2020, conscious and fear. So in the year 2024, they make the first aspect after the conjunction, which was in 2020. And you will see in that old video that I recommend to you, I spoke about the truth. And now I also speak about the truth. It is the time when the truth must come out. The key moments will be when, we see what is indeed happening in the world, which will bring this sextile. The sextile also speaks about the fact that there are still conscious and conscious people who can fight for the truth because they know, they understand actually the power of the divine laws, So I guess there are going to be people who will save what can be saved with this aspect. This sextile is especially important for Sagittarius and Scorpios, as well for all of the air signs, namely Gemini, Aquarius and Libras. Of course, they will affect all of us. So this period from May 26 to June 13 is excellent period for everyone. I can say it's good time to start something if you need to start something during this year. This video is already quite long, so I will not speak in details here. I will mention few more very important transits, and I will most probably also cut this year during the year and enable you to watch just parts of it. I guess it can be tiring. But let's say a few more things. Pluto enters Aquarius. It's a completely new state of affairs in the world that transit of Pluto begins. It is actually the background of everything that is happening in the world, So this transit is about opening up to the space, about the expansion of the space around us, and about the necessity of networking. Small countries have no chance of sustaining themselves with this transit, which will last until 2043. Which of course does not mean that this globalism of this type will survive. Don't worry, other globalists will come. I hope they will be better. So this year Pluto definitely leaves the sign of Capricorn, where it has been since 2008, and marks the end of the supremacy of petrodollar, probably the end of USA, and thus the end of the government of this pyramidal structure so far. Who and how will pay the debts for all of the dollars that were printed without cover? I don't know. We will see in the near future. Pluto will certainly influence Aquarius people the most. In the coming decades and years, Aquarius will change deeply, while Capricorns are finally enjoying the benefits of their transition. Aquarians of the first decade already feel this transformation that it's coming, and the sooner they accept that the old is inevitably, let's say, gone, and the sooner they begin to discover within themselves a new inspiration for life, the better. I have talked about Pluto in Aquarius in many of my videos, so now I'm not going to talk about that much. It is the symbol of definite change of political and social structures and some sort of implementation of modern technologies, hopefully for the good of the humanity, and of course it talks about completely new energy sources. Then Neptune is still in Pisces. You will remember that it was the key transit, Neptune in Pisces, at least until now. Now when Pluto is entering the sign of Aquarius, both of those transits are the key transits. So Neptune in Pisces is the symbol of the big flood of our time. We said that when Neptune leaves Pisces, the calendar will change. Please remember this. It must be that we will measure the time differently. the like new epoch started with it, with this. The line is drawn and it's very, very close. Many experience this transit of Neptune through the sign of Pisces through a certain eschatology. No wonder. But it is actually not the end of the world, it is only the end of a civilization in a huge way. All hysteria, pandemics, mass hypnosis and these kind of things that were happening since the 2020 are under the symbolism of Neptune in Pisces. But now Saturn is in Pisces and he controls Neptune there in a way. So the situation is relatively stable now. I mean the situation that is about this hysteria and this mass hypnosis. If you want to learn something about Saturn in Pisces, I very much recommend my video Saturn in Pisces 2023 to 2025 Historical Parallels. The last and the biggest fight that is expected is between the USA and China over Taiwan. I mean, it is between them, but Taiwan is just there because it has to be something. And this is crucial. China will probably take Taiwan back in the year of the dragon. And this is the year 2024. I have talked about this in my Chinese New Year videos and in some other videos. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I think that China is waiting for the integration of the Taiwan in the year of the dragon, which is going to be now. After 64 years, we have again the wooden dragon year. But we see from the story of Chelik that it is not now an ordinary dragon year. You know, 3 dragons must fight in order to win this evil. It is very, very miraculous time that we live, much more than we can even imagine. I think it's quite clear that China wants to integrate Taiwan without war, but it is not clear whether that is possible in such crazy times we live in. In a way, I think it is even, but it remains to see. We have already said that we have eclipses on axis of Libra and Aries. And we know that this is the axis of war and peace. So the war starts and immediately somebody starts negotiate, and things like that are happening with these eclipses. And this will most probably like that alternate in 2024 also. I would also like to remind you at the end that we live in the time after the great mutation happened. It happened in 2020 when Jupiter and Saturn met in the sign of Aquarius, which is the air sign. This is when this great mutation started. And this brings us always epochal changes. So now everything is leading us to the Aquarius, a sign that will symbolize either the awakening of the people and the expansion of human consciousness, or total control and robotization of man, which means the end of the civilization in this world. Watch about this great mutation, my video. The name of it is Jupiter and Saturn, Dead Kings and Pregnant Thrones. There I also explain what is happening with us. Otherwise, the aforementioned conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus with Algol will have the greatest impact on people who have planets or the ascendant or other important points of horoscope around the 26th degree of Scorpio, or let's say like from 22 to 28 Scorpio or Taurus. For them, this year will be significant for sobering up in some sense and will probably bring a turn for the better. It is just possible that it will happen in some very unexpected way. And in the end, I would like to tell you, just be happy, carefree, live in a prayer and gratitude, and ignore all the manipulations that they are preparing. of course, if you can do so. And that is all for now. You will find all of the links and contacts, recommended videos and so under this video, in the description of the video under YouTube. If you wish, you can schedule personal consultations with me based on astrological psychology, spiritual astrology, Feng Shui, and also based on the method that I call the change of the code, the change of the perception. It is the method that I have developed while working with clients in recent years with the help of other techniques that I learned before. And on my web pages, I briefly explain how this actually works. So check that on my web pages. The name is The Symbolic Thinking. I also recommend to everyone who follows those videos to learn the basic of astrology, and I offer also online astrology school. It is on my web pages, on the English pages. As you know, I have much more materials in other languages, and it is simply so. If you like the video, sign up for my channel, and thank you very, very much for that in advance. I wish you happiness, love, truth, and all the best that exists. And see you soon.